We are interviewing the family flips on this episode, and if you don't know about them, they are amazing entrepreneurs out of Arkansas. They have a YouTube channel that you are more than welcome to go check out and subscribe because they share knowledge like they've shared on our podcast today daily. So if you're into entrepreneurship, liquidation, family values, and just living a life through the American dream, then go check out this part one because the episode we just recorded was a little bit too long for a one-parter. So we're gonna do two parts, and I hope you truly enjoy it because there was some serious value and golden nuggets dropped by a family that flips.
Nice find, a place to find something nice every time.
The Family Flips has joined the Nice Fine Wholesale YouTube channel to come on and tell us all about their liquidation, reselling, YouTube, and everything else in their lives and business. So guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I love your pallet wall. That is nice.
I like your pallet wall.
Yeah. We didn't copy yours. We copied VIA Trading. And then we saw the wall and I was like, they've got it going on. They've got a wall. And I just wanted to set people straight. They're going to think, oh, well, they copied off of each other. We didn't. Just great minds think alike.
Yeah, but it's also subconsciously. Like, I've been watching you guys for longer than I have been posting on YouTube. So it could have been a thing too, just to kind of do what you've seen. But it's a great look, I must say.
It is. I like it.
All right, guys, let's dive in. First question. Who are you guys? Who is the family that flips? And tell us a little bit about yourselves.
My name is Jessica.
And
this
she's
is
the
my
funnier
husband,
one.
Joe, and I'm the funny one. I don't know if that's entirely true or not, but I feel like if I say it enough times, it might be true.
She brings out the funny in me. I am I get very serious and very fast paced at times, but she helps balance me out so much because she helps slow things down, helps me to be present in the moment. And it's a good thing to have.
And he keeps me serious. Otherwise, we'd never get anything done ever.
But
So
we have been married. It was our 8-year anniversary Tuesday. We've been married
2 days ago.
Yeah, 8 years now, and it's been one heck of a ride. So many mistakes along the way. We've been doing YouTube for 4 years now, 5 years now. I don't even know how long we've been doing it. It was one of those things where we did it to be real, to show that, you look at social media and everybody always puts like all the glamorous stuff, like all the perfect things and this and that. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to be transparent and be open and honest about our struggles, not just as business owners, but as spouses, people who also raising kids together. And it's a very interesting dynamic we did a podcast not too long ago, kind of about being a husband and wife working together. And there's so many benefits. And there's also things that make it very, very hard. But in the end, so rewarding for us because of who we are as people, that a lot of our core values line up perfectly. In a lot of ways, it works out well for us. But had we to do it over again when we got married, because we got married and I was like, hey, you should quit your job. I've been doing this reselling thing for like a year now.
And I had a very cushy, comfortable job as a preschool teacher.
Yeah.
And a regular paycheck.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Let's do that.
Quit your job. We'll do this together.
If we could do that over again, I probably would have waited.
At that point in time, we were selling cell phones. I started out reselling probably 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't know. I've been a reseller ever since I was a young kid, selling baseball cards. I was a kid that would drive his bicycle 3 miles across town to buy airheads for 10 cents. And then I'd take them to school and sell them for a quarter. So I've always been a reseller, but I started reselling a long time ago, buying a lot of women's jeans. I would go to like thrift stores and consignment places on my days off, and I would buy women's jeans, and I would do that. And then that kind of evolved. I heard an advertisement for shopgoodwill.com in one of the stores one time, and I found out they have an online place where you can buy stuff from. And at that point in time, I didn't have a lot of time. So I'm like, man, if I could source at home at nighttime, I could look up the value right there on eBay to see how much stuff is selling for. I can quickly make a decision whether I wanted to buy something. And if I was going to buy it, what's the most I'd pay for? And then I would just pick it up and do that. And then it kind of evolved into doing cell phones. And then that's when Jessica and I met. I'm like, hey, quit, experience this life of freedom.
And there was freedom. I didn't have to get up at 5:45 every morning and all that kind of stuff. But then there was also this other thing of like, oh, I don't get paid every Friday if I don't do work.
Yeah, because it was like, I mean, there's one afternoon, we hadn't been married very long. It was like a Monday or a Tuesday. And we're like, hey, it's nice outside today. Let's go take a walk. Let's go to this walking trail and we'll take Jolynn, our daughter, on a bike ride and we'll just enjoy it. Then that just quickly changed like, oh, like we got lots of moments like this. But you know, if owning your own business, if you don't work, you don't get paid. And eventually the funds will stop, will slow down. That segued into a lot of hard times where I remember very early on, like we were waiting for eBay sales to come through and hit our PayPal account so that we can go get groceries for dinner for that day. Not like for the week, but for that day. That was tough. Through that, you learn lots of discipline and lots of other things that I don't think you can't. A lot of people, they want to buy the course. They want to buy the ebook. They want to buy the stuff. And that teaches you knowledge, that teaches you stuff, but it doesn't teach you wisdom, which is the application of all the things that you've learned. So we've learned lots of things, lots through our own failures and just doing dumb stuff.
I guess ultimately that's where the YouTube channel came from.
Yeah.
From those stories. So we had so many moments like this, and it's like there's no book that teaches you how to do that.
No.
And it really just comes from having the confidence to go out and do it and expect that there's going to be challenges like that. And I guess the whole idea of the family flips was just to show people what that might look like. The good, the bad, the ugly, be super honest about it and just be like, look, this is normal. It is normal for you to struggle, and it's normal for there to be hardship, and it's normal for those things. And we should normalize those things because it's not about the highlight reels on Facebook.
Yeah. And I think with that, it's like we're selling mostly cell phones. Almost all cell phones and like modems and routers. And the market shifted pretty much overnight when it comes to cell phones, where the cost of goods went from like $5 per unit to $12 to $15 per unit. And we had to find something very, very quickly that we could sell because we had three full-time employees at that time. Like we had grown from an 81 square foot bedroom selling used cell phones into 1,000 square foot office space. And it changed. So I went online, bought a pallet from liquidation.com that I was like,
I don't know how you convinced me to do that.
I'm an optimist, at heart. Like I always like, we could do this and this and this, and it's always going to be best case scenario. And that's not good when it comes to liquidation. She's much more of a pessimist where it's the worst.
During buying liquidation pallets, low expectations.
Yeah,
very low. I mean, it suits me because I'm like worst case scenario all the time.
Yeah.
Like I look at something and I'm like, how badly could this possibly go wrong? I just need to be prepared for that.
Right.
Because if I'm prepared for that, then anything else that happens is great. Joe's like, no, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be awesome. So we buy this pallet and we know nothing about liquidation. Okay, we are not the smart people that went on YouTube and like watched other YouTuber. He's just like, this
I'm
is
a
great.
doer.
How long was this?
This was in 2018.
2008.
So 5 years
About
ago.
5 years ago.
About this time.
Actually, I think that we're coming on probably the 5-year anniversary of this pallet. The pallet's so big, we don't have a bay door. So we have to unbox this thing outside, but we are so excited. Joe has hyped all of us up, like me and the 3 employees that were working with us. And we're so excited. And Joe reaches in and grabs this pressure cooker and he's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Lifts it up and the whole front panel falls off, exposing the wiring inside. And let me tell you, I was like, see, here's the problem is that I did not prepare for worst case scenario in this point in time.
You gave into the hype. You gave into the Joe hype.
I did. And I'm like, we're never doing this again. I mean, ultimately, I'm sitting here like he's trying to find the best stuff. Like he's giving stuff away because he's like, I'm
moving on to the next thing. I'm like, how quickly can I get this out of my face?
He's trying to move it. Me, I have like 5 coffee pots in a circle around me, and I'm pulling a carafe from this pot, and I'm pulling and I can actually send you the photo of the one coffee pot that I put together that we ended up selling on eBay.
Yeah, we sold it on eBay. And the funny thing, I don't think I ever told you, we sold it to somebody in Colorado, and ultimately they returned it because it leaked.
All that
It
work.
leaked.
Sounds like
I didn't. I never did.
That ain't
I never did.
No,
I couldn't. I never did and it leaked. And I was like, all that time, and I was like,
5 years later, I finally know the truth.
I'm like, I just
no
refunded the person because I'm like, because they were in Colorado.
Let me ask you guys this. I mean, the experience, like, what did you guys learn from it? Why was that important?
Well, I mean, it's probably different for both. Joe and I are polar opposite people when it comes to the way we look at things in life sometimes. I mean, for me, I had to make a decision. This was a decision-making point in my life. I guess like this was a canon event where basically I had to decide if this is something that I wanted to continue to do, because we could have given it all up. I'm sure my old boss would have taken me back. And I was pretty much on the verge of doing that. I honestly still to this day do not know how you got me to buy another pallet.
I don't know. I think it was just
Liquidation.com again?
No. I learned that. I was like, all right. And I went and looked at the listing. I'm like, oh, this is salvage condition. That I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing. Right. So I learned then, I don't know, a big lesson was the value of relationships. Yeah. Right. So I got on the phone, I called the company, American Pallet Liquidators, and I was like, look, this is the kind of business that I have. What type of product can you recommend to me for how I do business? And they're like, well, we've got these Amazon medium pallets that were like 7, I guess now they would be called monster pallets. And we bought 2 of those. Two of those, we spent $1,500 delivered from somewhere, right around Indiana. Mm-hmm. And we got it. They delivered it to our store. All these pictures like on our website and some blog posts. And we got the pallets. One of the first items that we got off that next pallet was a 3D printer that paid for an entire pallet by itself.
Nice.
And then next thing I know, we're like, hey, let's go. Let's do this. We're moving into
give me a truck.
2,500 square foot warehouse. And we've got our first truckload of stuff on the way.
Nice. What was the truck?
It had 20 Amazon medium box pallets, like those monster pallets, and 4 of the high piece count pallets.
Nice. Okay.
And my thought,
behind the truckload, and what was the idea behind the storefront? Because that is not the same store that you guys are in now.
No. The whole thing was where we moved to was outside of town. We had planned on just doing e-commerce, right? We ordered the high piece count stuff because we're like, I want to know, I want to learn what this stuff is about. Thinking we'll break the pallets down, we'll go through it, we'll put as much of it on e-com as possible, sell it on eBay. That was the goal. And we did really well. Like that was in October, I guess November, very early November, we moved in there. I think we got the first truckload was actually November 1st, and we sold through it like that. We got it all listed. Holidays was awesome. And then they didn't have the medium. So I'm like, oh, well, we did all right with those 4 high piece count pallets because at that point in time, we opened up on a weekend and we did a bin sale. Like I didn't even know what a bin store was, but we just had these big black tubs that I put all the stuff in. And, the more stuff that you bought, the lower the price was. And we sold out of almost all of that stuff.
On the spot, or how was it? Like, was it actually priced out per unit, or how'd you do it?
Yeah, it was like if you bought 1 item, it was like $5. If you bought 3 items, it was $10. If you bought 4 items, it was like $12. So it encouraged people to buy more items. Because at that point, I'd already sifted through all of it and got, the stuff that I wanted to put online. I just needed to get rid of what I call the waste, the stuff that I didn't want to sell, and it did well. So I'm like, all right, well, let's buy a whole truckload. So in January, we got an entire truckload of high piece count stuff. And without really thinking through the whole process and really analyzing the amount of items off of those first 4 pallets that were under $10, I never really planned out like, all right, there's only going to be 30% of these items that are going to be able to be sold online. The rest has to be sold
How do you get rid
somehow. And I didn't even think about it. And then that transition to where we had just had our second child, he was like 3 months old, and we were having to open up the store more and more. We were in a location that was not conducive for retail. And we're like, we've gone too fast. I've gone way too fast. I haven't slowed down to think enough. I haven't talked to her enough to solicit feedback. I've just gone and make all these decisions without thinking through stuff. So we end up shutting the warehouse down. We put all the stuff in storage and we moved back into our garage and just started ordering medium box stuff that we could sell on eBay and on Facebook Marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Less pieces, moves faster.
Yeah, less pieces, move faster. We still had 2 or 3 pallets at that time, which led us to opening up a flea market booth, because we needed to be able to get rid of that stuff somehow. So we opened up the flea market booth. I guess that was around the time the pandemic started.
Yeah, it was, I think we opened it in like February of 2020. So it was like right before the pandemic
I was
hit.
getting sent to work from
Right. And it was also during that time that we got contacted by the production company for A&E for the TV show Extreme Unboxing.
Mhm.
And, we're going through that process of, interviewing and almost felt like a fraud in a lot of ways because I had made all these mistakes. They want us to be on this TV show where we're talking about liquidation, although we just had to shut down our store because of mistakes and failures. And then we're on this TV show now.
And they're showing us in this great light.
And this great light. Meanwhile, like we're feeling like sucky people that we made all this mistakes.
Syndrome, right? That it's
yes, that's exactly
Right.
what we were feeling like.
And
yes.
and the whole thing, why we talked a lot about doing the show, and ultimately we decided to do the show because we knew how Storage Wars was. We knew how fake it became and how much they staged stuff and how many people spent lots of money on storage units to find out that it was a fraud.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, well, if we're going to be on the show, at least we will know that a proper representation of liquidation will be on the show.
It's a great way to look.
So we agreed to do the show for those reasons. I mean, and the comforting for us was they never tried to do anything to make it seem or they never did anything to stage anything. They never did anything phony.
I mean,
they never asked us to plant stuff. They
were so determined not to do that they wouldn't give us, like, we would ask, like, however you normally do it, just do it how you do it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, all right, well, okay, that was really comforting. I know we did catch a lot of flack on, with a lot of other resellers and stuff, thinking, that
you're giving away all the secrets. You're doing this. You're like, it's on YouTube, bro. Like, more people are going to see YouTube than they are this TV show.
But
like,
it's also one of those things where it's like, I understand like their concern, but I also understand like where we are. It is not easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that you see on TV and you're just like, okay, yeah, like, I'm going to go do that. Most people are not going to go and do that. Like, there has to be a few steps if you're going to make that kind of investment.
Yeah. And the most slack I got was from people who were not chosen to be on the TV show. People who had been going through the interview process for the TV show, but ultimately they turned it down or they were turned down. Those were the people that were the ones that spoke out most about it in the different liquidation groups. It wasn't the normal of it. Obviously, there were some like, oh, this is just going to drive up prices like Storage Wars. Like, look, bro, maybe so.
Do you guys still catch flack for the YouTube channel from liquidation companies? Because I know we have and had and probably will. And there's people that refuse to do business with us because of it. And my philosophy has always been like abundancy. Like, there's way more than enough for everybody. Just go out there and hustle, and good luck to you. Use this information as best to your abilities. And then from like the liquidation side, where like where we're catching flack is suppliers don't want to, let's say, do business with us. Like, oh, I'm not going to sell you this because you're going to end up on YouTube. But then I hit them with like, well, then I don't even want to buy anything from you because it sounds like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. So, have fun with that. See ya.
Yeah. I think the most flack that we've gotten from that is people automatically, if we do an unboxing video for somewhere, there are certain people that automatically come out and say, oh, well, they gave you the best pallets. They're just staging stuff. They're putting all the good stuff on your pallets, and I'm not going to get anything.
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize that we do is we're aware that there are people out there that can do that, but there are things that we can do to make sure, because it looks bad on us, right? If we buy a pallet from somebody, we get the best pallet. Other people go use our affiliate link, go and buy a pallet, and it ends up not being the same. That looks bad on us. We have another.
Makes no sense. 100%.
Right. It doesn't make sense if you really follow it through. But also, on our end, if we do suspect anything, we have another DBA that we do not share publicly.
Yeah.
And it is not linked to the family flips at all. If we were to buy something through that DBA, they would not know who we are.
Yeah.
And we would just be essentially a regular. And that's something that we do just to make sure. Like, if we suspect, like, maybe there's something fishy going on here, well, we got a way to figure it out.
Yeah. And we did one unboxing early on when we had one video that took off. I think it's got like 1.7 million views. It came out and it took off.
That video.
It took off right around the time the TV show came out, and it took off. And we were approached by a company to do an unboxing video, and we're like, yeah, we'll do it. We don't want this to be staged, no good stuff. And we started unboxing the box, and we actually stopped midway through. Like, what did you do to this? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable putting this out there. And we recorded, ultimately, we decided to put it out there, but we put it like, this box, we don't feel like this is a normal box. So take this for what it is. Like, is this a real box? Do I feel like you're going to get this kind of box? I don't. But here it is. If you want to buy it, then you can. But I'm just telling you, like, I don't think this is an accurate representation
it was
of what
ridiculous.
you'd expect. And then on top of that, like, and people still don't, like, I learned then that it doesn't matter what you tell them, people are going to do it. I think that liquidator, they ended up selling like 300 or 400 boxes in 48 hours. And even after we told people that this is not an accurate representation. So of course, people start emailing us, they start commenting, they're like, I got trash. I'm like, we told you not to do it, you know, but it is what it is.
We deal with the same thing. We do a lot of Amazon mystery boxes or like coffin boxes on the channel. And pretty much the whole premise is like, we're going to show you exactly what's in here, guys. Like, this is party decoration mixed with face masks, mixed with some food, mixed with some pet products. Like, this is what you should be expecting. So if this works for you to buy for $100, you're more than welcome, because it does work for certain situations, right? Flea markets, garage sales. Might be, there's definitely a use for it. I know teachers like them. I know teachers love the mystery boxes because they can arts and crafts or surprises or giveaways, things like that. But the eBayers, there's like, if go look at our boxes, like, hey, this isn't for eBay. Like, I wouldn't put any of this on eBay. If you think that it'll do well on your store, you're more than welcome. But be aware that this is what you'll be getting, you know, and people are still calling us fraudsters, I guess, for lack of a better term, or, you know, that we're staging stuff. And I'm like, what are we staging? Did you see like a PS5 in here that I pulled out, or like iPhone? Like, there's not a single electronic in one of these videos, and you're believing that you're going to be getting iPhones.
And that's unfortunate, because there are people that do that. Yeah. You know, there are people, like, there's this one on Whatnot. There is this person that does liquidation unboxings where they sell the boxes. People buy the box and then they open it up, and they're like, they're going into it and they're telling people, like, in these 20 boxes, there's going to be an iPhone and an iPad. But then somehow one never gets bought, but then people still keep buying. You know, it's like the lottery ticket mindset. You know, people are expecting every lottery ticket to be a winner. And liquidation is very much lottery tickets. Every pallet is a scratch off.
I think it's also important to understand, like, the mindset behind that. It's that search for dopamine.
Yeah.
It's important. That people, like, psychologically, and then a lot of times if you're expecting dopamine and then you don't get dopamine, the natural response is irritation, frustration, and anger. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times it's like, well, as content creators, we can't control that, but we can put everything we can. I think you do a great job of saying, like, hey, look, this is what it is. And then ultimately, if whatever they choose to do after that, after you've given all the information and you were open and honest about it, that's not something you can control. We can't control other people's behaviors. We can only control how well we express the truth and authenticity in our content.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough balance, because obviously this is how I, like, Nice Fine Wholesale, and I make a living of selling liquidation, truckloads, and pallets to others in hopes that they'll be making money, right? But the very first thing, like, that everybody's kind of trained on when people walk into the warehouse, into the pallet showroom, is like, you got to tell them, this is a gamble. We're not guaranteeing you anything. Take a look at the fine print. This is returns. Like, there's no guarantees here. Like, this is a complete scratch off ticket. The best of luck. And I guarantee you, if you're going to do enough volume, and if you do enough research, and you find a niche, and you kind of hustle and tussle and grow, you will succeed. But it's going to take a lot of mistakes and a lot of pain to get there. No, so that's a great point. But let's turn this into a little bit more positive, you know, because we can get into the bad side of liquidation very easily and probably spiel on that for a good couple hours. But I would love to kind of talk about your guys' relationship and just how does it work being husband and wife, having a stressful business together where Joe might be gambling, Jessica's pissed, Jessica might gamble on a box, and now Joe is pissed. How does that work out? Why do you guys like it or not, maybe?
I will say that when we first started this and he was like, yeah, quit your job, let's go resell some cell phones. I don't think I really thought through what that would actually look like. And I was raised with parents who were very honest that marriage is hard. And it doesn't matter who you're married to. Marriage is hard. You're sharing your life with another person who has their own thoughts and feelings and behaviors. So it's going to be hard. So I kind of expected that, but I didn't think I quite understood how different it would be for Joe and I, because not only are we married and we spend time together as a family and we're raising kids together, but we're also working together. So we don't have that 8 hours, 5 days a week where we can, like, if we're mad at each other in the morning, we can go do something else, right? And then come back at the end of the night and be like, okay, I've calmed down. I've worked 8 hours. Let's talk this through. Like, that's not a thing that we can do. And then, of course, we've got employees that work here. So, like, right now, if like we were in an argument, it's going to be very hard.
Definitely
I
can
can't
get off.
speak for him. I'm relatively emotional as a person.
I'm also
Sure it's
emotional.
not
but in
Joe? Are you
different
sure
ways.
it's not Joe?
I'm emotional. I think guys and men and women are emotional in their own different ways.
Yeah, but I think that I'm emotional in a way that people would pick up on it first before they pick it up with him. And so, yeah, I mean, I say now we still struggle. I think one of the things that, we've learned is that there have been a few times in our marriage, we're going through it, and there comes this point in time where we just kind of stop. There was a moment, and I can't remember exactly what we were fighting about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there was this moment back when we were working in our garage where we were arguing about something. It was almost like at the exact same time we both stopped and we were like, what are we doing? Like, this is not productive. Like, we are not even talking to I am talking out loud to myself and you are talking out loud to yourself. Nobody's listening.
After work getting done.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we didn't even, there have been times where some of our best performing videos, we actually were fighting for 45 minutes to an hour before we even started filming.
And we only filmed because we have already invested so much time and money, having somebody watch our kids. They're like, well, you've got to do something, because if not, this is all for a loss.
Yeah, where I'm just like, why are we even doing this? Like, we're not even enjoying it at this point anymore. But ultimately, I think what really came down to it is realizing that, like, we just have to communicate.
Yeah.
Like, it is not like, however I feel about a certain thing is valid, even if it makes sense or not. However he feels about a certain thing is valid, whether it makes sense or not. And it's not our job to make the other person understand necessarily our point of view. It's our job to understand the other person's point of view. And once that happened, the fighting got a lot less extreme, I guess. I'm not going to say that we don't argue now or we don't see eye to eye now, but it's easier.
I think the thing that why we are successful in it, why we are able to do it, is because we have chosen each other. That our relationship is the most important thing, not the business, not the kids, although the kids are important, but like, we are the most important thing. And when it gets out of balance, a lot of times, and we have friction in our relationship, I'd say a lot of times it's because I may be stressed out, or I may be spending too much time focusing on the business and not focusing on our relationship. Granted, every season, even in relationships, they have ebbs and flows where some seasons we may be able to spend a whole lot of time together. Some seasons, periods of time, we may not be able to. But the heart condition is still, even if it's not as much time, the heart is still towards nurturing that relationship.
I think the best thing about being married and working together in these ways, if I changed my perspective, right? And instead I have more opportunity than most women in marriages to connect with my husband. I have more time. I have more opportunity. I have more availability to be able to be a partner than a lot of other women in marriages who may not work with their husbands. And so I think ultimately it's like, a lot of us, we look at it and it's like, oh, more opportunity to fight, more opportunity to argue, more opportunity. I'm like, yeah, but there's also more opportunity to not do that.
Yeah.
To complete trust cycles, to show and support the other person. Like, we have a lot more opportunity
to hang out.
Hang out. Yes.
Don't see each other until, Friday night.
Right. And then by that point, they're completely exhausted. It's still like that a lot of times for us, but it's still like, I get to do this with my best friend, and
who's funnier than him?
Who's funnier than me?
She is. Still, already had a couple good jokes in there. Like,
she's funny in her own way, but it's still, we've had way more opportunity in these 8 years than a lot of people have in 15 or 20, just because of the amount of time that we have been able to spend together. And, and it's like, a lot of people choose liquidation because they want riches and glory. They want to make
wrong business. Keep moving.
Right? Yeah. And that's not why we're in this. Like, liquidation, this is just a vehicle for us to live the lifestyle of freedom that we want. I've been watching a series on the History Channel called The Story of Us, where it's the story of America and how it was founded. You know, and most people, when they came to America, I mean, even you've been here, you said since you were 9, that a lot of people come to America because they have the opportunity to have something of their own, something that they can make their own. And I wanted my own. Like, ever since I was a young kid, I wanted my own business. Like, you ask kids, like, what do they want to be when they want to grow up? I was like, I wanted to own businesses. I wanted to make them better. Like, that's what I wanted to do. So being able to have my own business and have the freedom to spend with Jessica, to be able to homeschool our kids, to be able to, like, tomorrow we're taking off the weekend and we're going camping. If you work 9 to 5 and you work for somebody, like, you don't have that freedom. I could probably make more money going back into the restaurant business. You know, I used to be a general manager for Cracker Barrel and Starbucks and Chili's and all that. Like, I could probably make more money and go and do that, but it's not mine. And this is mine. And because of that, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it successful, to be able to live my dream. What I want to do is I want my own business. I want to be able to run it, not just the way that I want it, but I want it to be mine. And this is our business.
I love it. I love it. A lot to digress there. So I kind of want to jump back about one thing that you guys said, because this has stuck with me for a few months now, because I'm getting married next week. So that's why I wanted to ask you guys that question. So I'm getting married next week. So, you know, there's like the church classes, there's a lot of mentor thing going on, like a lot of just research about marriage, right? Just a lot of conversations with a lot of people about marriage. And there was a point where I've heard like 2 or 3, and now you guys are saying it too, where people are saying you and the wife come first, kids are second, everything else is second, third, fourth, whatever. And it just, like, first when I heard it, I was shocked, right? I'm like, well, the way I grew up is that, you know, the kids were first. Everything that the parents and the wife and the husband do is for the kids, and, you know, for the better of them and for the better of the family. And it was never like the conversation of husband and wife come first. And now you guys are saying that too. And like I said, it shocked me the first time. It shocked me the third or fourth. Now I am completely on board, because it makes sense. If you guys don't work, if the husband and wife don't work, if that relationship isn't rock solid, then everything else is going to go to shit too. Your kids are going to turn out a little bit more reckless. Your business isn't going to be as profitable. Your home life is going to suck a little bit more. Like, everything is going to take a bigger hit because the relationship between the husband and wife is number one. There's definitely something there, because that sentence and theory keeps coming back to me in the last 3 months. So I think I have my answer. I think I know what I need to focus on after we get married next week. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing for that. So I hope you enjoyed part 1, because part 2 is dropping soon. Stay tuned.